Israel is agreeing to begin negotiations with Lebanon as soon as possible. That's according to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It says the focus remains on disarming Hezbollah. Talks expected to take place in Washington. Iranian officials are now threatening to end the ceasefire with the U.S. over Hezbollah not being included in a truce deal, which the United States says was never part of the deal to begin with. The vice president is set to lead the U.S. negotiating team in Pakistan tomorrow for peace talks with Iranian leadership, along with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security remains closed. It is day 56. House Republicans blocking a Democratic effort to limit American military action in Iran during a pro forma session that happened yesterday. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says that Democrats are in active conversations with Republicans to get the votes needed to pass an Iran war powers resolution. Listen to what he says.
We're in active conversations with Republicans to secure an additional handful of our Republican colleagues, which is all we will need to join House Democrats in stopping this reckless war of choice. We're prepared to force another vote upon our return to the House of Representatives, and for it to be successful, we only need a handful of Republicans, like Mike Lawler, Nicole Malliotakis, or others, to join House Democrats so we can end the madness now.
So we reached out to both Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis and Congressman Lawler for comment. We've not heard back yet from them. I want to bring in South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry. Congressman, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the upper chamber is going to take up that measure next week when they get back from recess. What do you make of that? And also the fact that he went in front of a microphone and named two of your colleagues, Republican colleagues, who he says he's trying to get over to his side on this resolution. What do you make of that?
I think the founders were genius that they have one commander-in-chief and not 535. I mean, so Congress right now certainly has an obligation in some ways to assist in matters of international importance, but to micromanage the president with 535 CEOs of the country doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense to the American people. President Trump has always said from the very beginning, this is a limited incursion. We're going to go in there and take care of business and fix things. We don't need Congress right now micromanaging a war that the president, or a conflict that the president is trying to engage in. And so Democrats are just playing politics once again. They once said that Iran having a nuclear weapon was unpalatable. And now, because they just hate President Trump so much, they're just hell-bent on trying to undermine him at every turn, and this is the latest example.
Well, and it seems like it's a difficult road for them, just considering that on the Senate side, that Senator Fetterman has been clear and public in saying that he does not support any type of resolution like that. Let's talk about funding for DHS, because Senate Republican Whip John Barrasso and Senate Budget Committee Chair Lindsey Graham are set to meet with the president today to discuss funding immigration enforcement within DHS, using only Republican votes. This is part of this two-step strategy to end the shutdown without agreeing to the Democrats' demands on immigration policy. Now, Maria spoke with White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett on the program yesterday about the reconciliation bill. Listen to what he told her.
We've made it clear about the things that we want to fund, and we have an avenue to get that done, and we're pursuing it aggressively. And we've got a lot of allies on the Hill, so I expect it will be done, and hopefully before June.
When you say you've made it clear in terms of the priorities, you're saying fund DHS, right? Or is it the defense money, or is it the Save America Act? What specifically? The
specifics are still being negotiated, but the bottom line is that the president has priorities, and he'd like to see them funded, and obviously Homeland Security is a top priority. We believe we can do with reconciliation. And do you want to see two reconciliation bills? You know, I am a tax economist. I'd love to have one every minute of every day. But, you know, there is the option to do a second one in the fall, and I'm sure that, you know, we'll look very carefully at what we could do with that one and perhaps have a bigger reconciliation bill.
Okay, so I had Congressman Michael Rulli with me last hour. Listen to what he said about this entire process and where he is right now, and I want to get your reaction after.
I definitely would like to see 2 reconciliations. I think one right now in the fall would be great. The temperature that I'm hearing, and I've talked to a lot of the members, is that we're going to get this done this week. Tuesday, we're going to hit the ground running. We will definitely fund DHS. We have to really put our heads together. We have to do the hard work, go through all the details and see how that looks. If we could get it done by the end of the week, I think we could get everything open. Reconciliation is going to happen now.
What do you specifically mean by get it done? What does that look like?
Well, I think it looks like that when you look at the funding and especially, the ICE part of it, I think that's where the Democrats are really hung up at. How the pots of money are going to line up is where the dirty work's going to be. I know Speaker Johnson's working on that right now. We have to try to get it to the point where the Senate is going to go along with us and we can have a final product.
Congressman, your reaction to that?
Well, I would similarly, I'd love 2 reconciliation bills. I think voters want change. They want us to be robust and bold. As far as the DHS, I think the House has been very consistent and clear from the beginning. We're not going to limit the Department of Homeland Security. We want ICE enforcement. We want CBP operations to continue. We want them to accelerate. We want these agencies to do their job. That's the president's top priority, or one of them, and that's certainly House Republicans. And so this, it's unfortunate that we're even here. It would have been great to do this on a pre-negotiated bill that hit the floor, that the Democrats all of a sudden moved the goalposts on. But we are where we are, and we're going to go deliver for the American people because they expect nothing less right now. They want their Border Patrol funded. They want ICE operations to continue. And Senate products that don't meet that measure are not something that we're interested in. So the reconciliation, the skinny reconciliation product is the way to go. It's probably the only path forward to make sure that we fully fund these operations. And so we're going to go do our job and comply and make sure that we're honoring the voters' requests in funding these operations.
And that's good to hear, good news. But at the same time, it's Senate Republicans that are going to the White House today. So, but you're saying that you would like to see the Republicans come over to the House side. I'm wondering if the president today is going to have to basically play mediator.
Well, I think right now where the Senate's at, and I don't know that mediation is necessarily necessary, but where the Senate's at is the Senate is the ones with the problem right now. Yeah. They cannot reach 60 votes. So we in the House have passed fully funding this multiple times. And so the mechanics of this probably need to originate in the Senate. How do they cobble together 50+1 votes to make sure that it passes? Once they get that done, we're ready in the House.
Well, President Trump, he is the deal maker. So we shall see.
Right.
Congressman Russell Fry, thank you for being with me. I appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.